You know, when you look at old documents, census records, marriage licenses, newspaper clippings, they can feel kind of dry, right? Just a bunch of names and dates. But what if I told you that hidden in that data is a real human story? If you know how to connect the dots, these pieces of paper start to talk. Today, we're going to follow the trail left by two seemingly ordinary people and uncover a pretty extraordinary drama.
And that's the big question, isn't it? How do you actually piece together a life from just paper and ink? You know, the good times, the tough times, all the big turning points. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Think of us as historical detectives, about to follow the clues.
So, our case file, if you will, is focused on two people, Cora Alice Taylor and Edmond Cole Steinman. Their story isn't in one place. It's scattered across tons of records over 5 decades and a few different states. And wow, does it tell a story about love, about hardship, and about how two lives can start together and end up on completely different paths.
Okay, so let's meet them. On one side, you have Cora, born in Colorado in 1889, and on the other, Edmond, born a year before that in Missouri. So they started out in different places, and spoiler alert, they end up worlds apart, not just in miles, but in everything. But for a while there, their lives were completely wrapped up in each other.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. And their story, it really kicks off like a classic hometown romance. You know, the kind that's filled with hope and promise. And what's so cool is that we have this public record of it. This isn't some dusty license in a courthouse. This is from the local paper. It says they were a happy young couple and well and favorably known. I mean, you can just feel the optimism. They got married on March 1st, 1908, and it sounds like the whole town was rooting for them. What a perfect way to start a life together. And for that first decade, the records totally back that up. Everything seems to be going according to plan. They get married, and boom, their first son, Donald, is born that very same year. They move to Wichita, they set up a home, and the family keeps growing. First, a daughter, Cora Ethel, and then another son, William Samuel. It's the classic picture of a young, thriving family from that era.
But, you know, life is never that simple, is it? It's never just one straight line of happy moments. And the same paper trail that shows us all these joys, well, it also reveals the heartbreaks that were happening behind the scenes.
So by the early 1920s, it looks like they've really hit their stride in Albany, Missouri. Edmond's got a solid job as an engineer at the local light plant. They even buy a new house. And again, it's the little details in the local papers that bring it to life. There are all these mentions of family visiting, sisters, cousins, you name it. It just paints this picture of a really bustling, happy, close-knit family. And then, the story takes a turn. Right there, tucked in between all the happy social news, you find a record that just stops you in your tracks. It's a record of an unimaginable loss.
They had another son, Paul Lawrence, born right before Christmas in 1921. The announcement even said he was a healthy 10-pound son. But then, just 5 weeks later, there's an obituary. He passed away at home. The cause listed was stomach and bowel trouble. Just seeing those two dates so close together is just devastating. It says so much without saying much at all.
Losing a child, I mean, that's a weight that can break even the strongest couple. And while we can never know what was said or felt inside that house, what the records do show us is that the very next year, their entire world just shatters. And it happens fast.
That year was 1923. This is the year. This is when everything changes. The whole foundation of their family just crumbles.
Just look at how quickly this unravels. In February, Edmond up and quits his good job. By July, he's just gone. He deserts Cora and their 3 kids. And here's the kicker, Cora is pregnant at the time. She has their baby daughter, Mary Ellen, all by herself in September. And then, just 2 months after that, the family is back in the papers, but for the worst reason, Edmond has been arrested.
And this was no quiet affair. The newspaper reports that the police called him the most troublesome prisoner they have attempted to bring to justice. I mean, wow, think about that. The well and favorably known young man from their wedding announcement, that image is just gone, completely destroyed. So after the explosion of 1923, their paths just completely diverge. The story that was once about them becomes 2 very, very different stories about him and her.
And this is where the difference is just staggering. Look at Cora's path. She's now a single mom to 4 kids, one of them a tiny baby. The records show her working as a sales lady to make ends meet, moving from one relative's house to another just to get by. And Edmond?
Just 2 months after his arrest, he's married again, he starts a whole new family, has another daughter, and just keeps going with his career. It's unbelievable.
And then we find this really fascinating clue in the data. After he leaves his first family, Edmond starts messing with his own name. He's Ed, then Edward C., then Edward W. By the 1940s, he's going by Everett W. Steinman. It really feels like he's trying to become someone else, to literally rewrite his own identity and leave his past behind.
So, where does this all leave us? When you step back and look at all these data points together, you finally see the whole picture, the full story of their lives.
Edmond, or Everett as he called himself, died in 1955 in Missouri. Cora, who had moved out to California to be close to her kids, she passed away 3 years later in 1958. Their final decades were spent a country apart.
And this last detail, it really says it all. It shows just how permanent that separation was. Even in death, they're apart. Cora is buried in Kansas, surrounded by her children's family. Edmond is buried in Oklahoma under his new name, with his new family. The paper trail that started with one happy couple ends with 2 separate people in 2 totally different worlds.
And I think that's the big takeaway here. No single record ever tells the whole story, right? But when you start weaving them together, the happy wedding announcement, the birth notices, the heartbreaking obituaries, and yeah, even the shocking arrest records, suddenly it's not just data anymore. It's a life. It's their life. It's the story of Cora and Edmond.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? All those names and dates in your own family history, they're not just facts on a page. They're clues. They're pieces of a puzzle. So, what stories are just waiting to be discovered in your history?